Okay, guys, today, inshallah, we're going to continue what we started last time. Last session, there was a kind of internet interruption, so we're going to revise what we studied. In the last session, we just remember how the natural selection process works in nature, and we got many examples that represent how the natural selection happened and how that could cause, okay, the appearance of new strains or new species, okay. Today we are gonna continue our lesson. We talk about the process of speciation. So who could remind me first what meant by species? What is species, guys? So raise your hand if you know the answer, guys. What is species? Can you hear me, guys? Hannah Yasser. Okay. Yes, Farah. Okay, Farah, you raised your hand. Okay.
مستر أنا ولا هنا ياسر؟
Farah, okay. You can get a chance.
Okay. Species is a group of living organisms consisting of similar individuals capable of exchanging genes of interbreeding.
So that's a very complicated definition. It's good, but what mean by able to change genes? It means they are able to. Okay, Farah Hashim.
To make they are able to make new genes, yeah.
No, 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 no.
Reproduce.
They can reproduce, and the new offspring must be. They must be the new offspring. The key word of the definition, as we said, for example, the horse and the donkey, both they could reproduce, but could I consider them the same species?
No.
No, why? Because the offspring is unfertile or they are not able to reproduce. So the keyword of the definition of a species group of individuals of the same kind or they are similar that able to reproduce new fertile offspring. So the keyword is fertile. That means the new offspring must be able to reproduce later. You get this guy's idea? You get the idea, guys? Okay.
Yes.
So here that the point. So like for example, as I said, donkey and horse both okay they could reproduce, but actually they produce okay once they get a mule which is unfertile that not able to reproduce anymore. So like this they are not the same species. So here we should have a fertile offspring. So now we're gonna find regarding to the idea of evolution, we have believed that all living organisms or most living organisms they are share a common ancestor. So that means the new species or the modern species somehow they are arising from all species. So which means some species is already formed from other species. This idea or that concept is known as speciation. Speciation means rising of new species from old one. So let's see how that could happen. How a new species rise from an old species or something like that. Actually, you may have an idea about this, guys. Like as we said, the evolution of the whale, as we said, start as land mammal and ends as okay the modern whale, which we have. Of course, we could classify them as two different species. That means there is a big difference between the ancestor and the modern whale. But let's take the idea how the process happened. So first of all, to make speciation process, we must have a process called separation. What I mean by separation? Separation, as we said last time, a group or some individuals of that species will separate from the rest. Separate that means they will be isolated. Isolated by one of for by whatever the reason. They could be separated geographically, as we said, they may be a mountain between them, a glaciers, a river, something like that. So they are geographically isolated. Maybe they are isolated or separate because some of them lost so they lost their way they can find their way to the others so they just be in a separate way. Maybe they are isolated because of difference in the mature age. That means some individuals for a reason they become mature later than the others so no more able to reproduce with the others, okay, and so on like that, guys. You get the idea, guys? Can you say, can you hear me
Mr. Can you say again?
again?
Yes.
So again, That part. We said that, for example, imagine, let's look with me carefully. Here, imagine that we have this place and there are species already living in that place, okay? So for a reason, some of these individuals, okay, so they were just distributed like that. For some reason, imagine that, for example, okay, ice or snow is falling down, so it covered this part, okay? So it make a huge, okay, for example, mountain of ice that separate these from these. They were the same species, okay? So now these individuals could reach these individuals.
No.
No, so this group now are separated. In another way, okay, for example, imagine that we have group of islands that found in the ocean, and then some animals, by whatever the way, or some birds, they migrate to these islands and they start to set or find that it's better for them to be in that island. So like this, they already separated, yes or no? A good
Yes.
idea, guys. So whatever they are separated, once they are separated, that means no more they are in contact or no more they are able to reproduce together, and they are found in different environmental conditions, different places. So here, that's the first step of speciation process. Okay. So what happens? Let's take here the example here to observe. For example, do you know the zebra finch, which Darwin studied in Galapagos Island? Okay. He observed it. Actually, there are different 14 species of finches, although all of them they have a common ancestor. So what happens here? So some finches already they already passed or they separate from the main group. They left the Galapagos Island and went to Ecuador or whatever the nearby island because they are group of islands beside each other. So this zebra finch passed to another island and they start to sit in that island and reproduce, and because of and they start to adapt with the conditions. That mean some natural selection happen, okay, and make them able to live in that island. Okay, another group of finches pass to another island, and so on. So now I have the zebra finches are distributed in different islands in that area. As each island has different environmental condition than the other, so of course, okay, the natural selection or the environmental condition will support different traits in each island. Yes or no? For example, an island that have higher trees while other island just have short trees or shrimps. So like this, we could find that the birds which found in the island that has high trees will support the birds which have strong wings to fly higher, while the others one will support the zebrafinch which has short beak to be able to pick seeds and so on. Good idea, guys?
Yes, mister.
Yes, Mister.
So like this, okay, we find the finch reproduce and adapt to the environment, or that's kind of adaptation. So in each island, the group of finches will adapt, and the finch reproduce and adapt in different environmental conditions. So that will cause some differences in that region. Sometimes the zebra finch pack again to the main island or to the source, okay, the island which already they were in. But actually, once they return back, they find that they are not able to reproduce anymore with the old zebra finch, okay? For whatever the reason, differences in the mature season, difference in the reproduction season, maybe, okay, different in colors, which make the females not attracted to males or something like that. So they will not able to reproduce, okay, that will. So what they are going to do, they will pack again to the island which they suitable to live in. After years and years and years and many of natural selection that happen, we're gonna find that we have different, okay, zebra finch in each island than the main island where they already found in. So like this, we have different species of zebra finch. Is it clear, guys, here?
Yes,
Yep.
Mister. I have a question.
Yes,
Yep.
mister.
Yes.
So is the whale an example of speciation?
Whale is example of speciation. We could consider, yeah, the modern whale from the old one. It's considered example of speciation, of course. Okay.
Mister, and I have a question too.
Yep.
Uh, Speciation happens only in natural selection or also selective breeding?
No, speciation doesn't happen by selective breeding. Speciation happen by natural selection. Natural selective breeding, guys, actually doesn't help in that much in process of evolution until the environmental condition changes. Okay, example, that means if you are a farmer and you have some kinds of dogs or whatever, you are an animal breeder and you have dogs or cows or whatever, and you start to select certain traits to pass to the offspring, you make a kind of selective breeding. It doesn't mean that the natural selection support these traits, okay, until the environmental conditions change and make these individuals more able to, or successful to reproduce more than others. In that case, we consider this as natural selection, and in that case, speciation may happen after long years, okay. But selective breeding, you still pick certain traits of the same species. You get the idea?
Yes, thank you.
As the individuals is still able to reproduce and get new fertile offspring, so we don't have speciation yet. That means, for example, I get dogs and they start to breed them to get, okay, a kind of dog which is smart and fast, okay. So this dog is still able to reproduce to the other types of dog and get a new type, a new fertile offspring. So in that case, it's not speciation; it's still the same species because they are able to reproduce and get new fertile offspring. Clear, Hannah?
Yes, thank you, Mister.
Okay, so here, guys, let's see that example because it's very important. So here, I need someone to read this paragraph adaptation. So who can read this paragraph? Okay, Hannah.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Adaptation, right?
Yep.
Adaptation. Populations constantly undergo natural selection. After two groups have separated, natural selection may act on each group in different ways. Over many generations, the separated groups may evolve different sets of traits. In the environmental conditions for each group differ. The adaptations in the groups will also differ.
So that the idea, guys, here, as they are already separated, that means the two groups or the three groups, whatever the number of groups, they will pass with different environmental conditions. So different natural selection process will happen. That means the environmental condition in each environment or in each place will pick different traits than the others. So over many generations, we're gonna find that the speed this, okay, or the individuals on the different places they are, or they have different traits than the others which make them different. For example, let's see here, okay. So the first step of speciation is separation, second step is adaptation, and the third step is division. So who can read this paragraph of division, guys? So what about the
I
others,
I
guys?
can.
Okay, Farah.
Division. Over many generations, two separated groups of a population may become very different, even if
If a
even if
geographical barrier.
yes, even if a geographical barrier is removed, the groups may not be able to interbreed anymore. At this point, the two groups are no longer the same species.
Thank you. Okay, just here. So here, guys, that the idea is that means even after they are separated and as they already adapted in different environmental conditions and they get some different traits, even this geographical barrier, that means the reason that separate them is not found anymore. So the individuals may not be able to reproduce anymore. Okay, as we said, after the zebra finch already adapted in the new islands, once they return back to the home island, they are not able to reproduce anymore with other or the old finches. So here, that's kind of speciation because as they are not able to reproduce or they could reproduce but not get non-fertile offsprings, in that case we can consider them a species. Look, for example, with me to this graph. I'm gonna maximize it, okay, just a little here. So look at this graph, guys. Actually, this graph represents different types of frogs, okay. So leopard frog, pickerel frog, tree frog, and bullfrog. So all them frogs actually they are descended from the same ancestor frog, okay. But if you just look here, so we find that the season of the mating of them, it's here, for example, for the leopard frog starts in the half March, okay, to the half of May, and while the Perkel frog they start from half April to, okay, the beginning of May, or so on and like this. So we could observe that the reproduction season differ from each one of these. Okay, so although they were one species, but as they already separated and adapted to environmental conditions, so they lead to have different traits. So even once we got them in the same place, they will not be able to reproduce anymore because they have different seasons of reproduction. That means this will be mature before this, or this will be able to reproduce before this already, and before the so they will not be able to reproduce together. So in that time, I can't consider them species anymore, but I could consider them as four different species. You get this, guys?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
mister.
So
Yes,
here,
mister.
that's the idea, or that's how the process of speciation happen. Okay. Any hard question regarding to what we explained, guys?
No.
Okay.
No.
So now here I'm gonna need you to watch that video. Okay. Then you could. Okay. That will summarize the idea for you. Like that, the video explained these reasons of separation, and I think it's more clear now to know how they could separate it. Even if they are in the same place, they may be separated for other reasons, like the way of or the time of maturity or the season of reproduction, or even different habitat and so on. So that's which make the natural selection could happen in two individual groups, and that lead to more speciation. You get this, guys? Is it clear, or you still have any question?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so actually the section review will be your homework, okay, for today. Just next time, inshallah, we're gonna answer it together, and then we're gonna pause to answering more questions to check that the whole chapter is clear, okay? So any hard question regarding to what we said?
Mr. I'm sorry, what's the homework?
Again, okay, the section review, okay, this section review page, that's page 183, okay? So anyone have any question, guys? Okay, thank you. See you next time. Goodbye.